2025 promises to be a very transformative year, mostly in politics. We're seeing a bunch of changeover occur in the States in a couple of weeks' time, and multiple other governments around the world, my own included, going through massive shakeups. But where all the conversation is happening, where a bunch of this discourse is going down, and it all tends to play out on social media. And we've seen in the past couple of years, thanks to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, making it X, and remitting the platform to free speech, that definitely having a knock-on effect. And where it is resonating the most is over at Meta. And it's a good thing, okay? I don't want to paint this as anything but, okay? And I think this change of heart gets a little bit of credibility by bringing Dana White on board, because there are very few people, CEOs, heads of companies, that I trust more than Dana White. I think that he's a very stand-up guy. There was nobody during the time of the pandemic that made sure that his employees were properly compensated, and they also had the opportunity to work if they did. There were no other heads of major sporting organizations that made sure that their athletes weren't negatively impacted by a bunch of overzealous spurgs attempting to ruin and reset everybody's lives. No, Dana White took all the slings and arrows that the media, that the perception out there, mostly cultivated by the likes of social media. He took all of that full force. He weathered the storm, and the UFC was one of very few companies that came out the other side in better shape than it entered. So yes, Dana White joining the board of directors at Meta, that's a good thing. I'm excited to kick off the year with some news we've been working on for a while. Dana White, John Elkman, and Charlie Songhurst. I'm not familiar with the other two names, are joining Meta's board of directors. We have massive opportunities ahead in AI, wearables, and the future of social media, and our board will help us achieve our vision. Dana is the president and CEO of UFC. I didn't know that. Thanks for clearing that up, Mark. And he has built it into one of the most valuable, fastest growing, and most popular sports enterprises in the world. I've admired him as an entrepreneur and his ability to build such a beloved brand. And Dana's statement: I've never been interested in joining a board of directors until I got the offer to join Meta's board. I'd imagine that there were probably a few zeros attached to that paycheck. Let's keep it a buck. I am a huge believer that social media and AI are the future. I'm very excited to join this incredible team and to learn more about the business from the inside. There's nothing I love more than building brands, and I look forward to helping take Meta to the next level. And I seen this announcement when he made it on Monday over on Twitter, where the impetus of all this change really did play out. I love social media, and I'm excited to be a small part of the future of AI and emerging technologies. And so, okay, adding one guy to the board of directors, is that really going to end up changing any of the policy over there? Okay, is Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, all of the other businesses and subsidiaries under the Meta umbrella, which, as important as Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, is, and while Elon Musk wants to tout it as the #1 news app in a bunch of different countries around the world, who has the biggest user base? Still, at the end of the day, that's all of the Meta properties. So for Mark Zuckerberg to come out with this very Android-like 5-minute speech, well, it's important. It's also the type of about face that we can come to expect in the next few months and in the coming years as society starts to catch up with reality. Because over the past decade and change, there has been an adherence to an overwhelming minority of people's whims and desires. All of these luxury beliefs that have been catered to by companies, corporations, and institutions for far too long. And now finally people are starting to realize that, that's not exactly profitable. It's not at all popular, and it in fact is costing us quite a bit. So being a conservative my entire life, I'm not some, born again liberal who's like, oh my God, I used to vote a certain way, I used to hold certain beliefs, and then I realized one day that the left left me. No. I've been staunch in my beliefs for a long time, so I know, and I've seen these types of changes at various points throughout history. But with that type of experience comes a knowledge that your thoughts, your principles, and your true ideals are never going to be the most popular. And when they do start to become popular, you're going to notice a bunch of grifters and bandwagon hoppers, and that's definitely what's going to be coming right now in the lead up to Trump, and then after he gets inaugurated, and after Justin Trudeau gets replaced. There's going to be a bunch of changes, a lot of them generally for good. Okay, you're looking at this stuff in a vacuum. Okay, as Benny Johnson has pointed out, Mark Zuckerberg announced a sweeping changes to Facebook and Instagram to move towards free speech, including ending third-party fact-checking and replacing it with community notes like X, removing reduction on political content, and lifting topic restrictions. All of that stuff is fantastic, but let's be as honest as we can be when it comes to this. Who is making all of these calls? Who was the one who was censoring topics all the way back in the cut? Right at the beginning of Trump. We're going back all the way to 2015 on this one, because this is just because they censored. Okay, that was Facebook, by the way, who censored the Hunter Biden laptop story at the behest of the FBI, but they still left the doors wide open for government interference. And now, if you listen to the video, it's 5 minutes long. A lot of people have gone over it. I'm not somebody who's here to break down videos all the time. I don't think that it's all that important. Basically, it's this Boston Dynamics robot with a stupid broccoli haircut coming forth and saying, hey guys, free speech is really cool. California is no longer a viable place, so we're moving our operations to Austin, Texas. He doesn't say Austin, he says Texas. But that's where all of the tech bros are going, because the taxes and the overregulation in California is stifling creativity and making Silicon Valley an unsustainable place to leave. Or, I'm sorry, a place to live, rather. It's a more enticing place to leave. But yes, to break this down a little further, Mark Zuckerberg announces an end to Facebook's third-party fact-checking, admits a model became a tool for censorship. Too many mistakes. And who allowed that tool to be used there? Very appropriate verbiage. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg said Facebook had done too much censorship as he revealed the social media network is scrapping fact-checking and restrictions on free speech as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to return to the White House. The 40-year-old tech tycoon who dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago the day before Thanksgiving and gave him a pair of Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses, with a Meta later donating $1 million to his inaugural fund. How much money did Meta give to the Kamala Harris campaign? I'm just wondering, right? Claimed on Tuesday that the dramatic about-face was a signal that the company is returning to an original focus on free speech. Yep, we're going to go back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platform. Zuckerberg said in a video on Tuesday, noting that Facebook will end its controversial third-party fact-checking in favor of adopting Elon Musk's crowdsourced community notes model on X. Yeah, this is Mark Zuckerberg not recommitting to free speech, just looking over to the growth of X and the changes that Elon has implemented that has led to that growth, and wondering, oh, if we can go ahead and institute some of that stuff to the stagnating platform of Facebook, how we can go ahead and try to prevent said maturity being reached over at Instagram. Like, we can cut this stuff off at the pass before it gets too bad. Like, what can we do right now that seems to be popping? Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll just adopt all of that stuff. We'll keep our regulation at a minimum instead of going in hard on one political avenue. We'll just let everybody have a conversation. We'll just have community notes, because that gets engagement, because people have opinions on community notes one way or another, or at least like to engage with them, because sometimes they're factual and other times they're just very hilarious. And the stunning reversal will include moving Meta's content moderation team from the deep blue California to right-leaning Texas in order to insulate the group from cultural bias, which is, interesting. A move that looked, like another page out of Musk's playbook. Very much so. And also, shot across the bow of California, and if you want to affix a tinfoil hat for a minute, trying to turn Texas blue. But I think that might end up being a leap too far, because if you've also been tracking the transformation of Mark Zuckerberg in recent years, I think he's one of those guys who probably just had the best of intentions at heart when it came to building Facebook all the way back in the day, but then just ended up getting swept up in something that got much larger than he ever intended it to be. And he's not exactly the guy, he doesn't really have the temperament of the face of an industry. Okay, he's not Dana White, he's not Donald Trump, just some autistic tech nerd who, I don't know, is trying to do a really shitty Daniel Penny cosplay. Like, fucking go to a barber, you creep. But no, for as much as I won't opine about his perceived character flaws, I've also got to talk about how he allowed and permitted this stuff by his own employees, and then also through government interference, to allow the cultural conversation for over a decade to be curated in order to uphold the status quo, because that's exactly what he allowed to perpetuate. As we work to promote free expression, I think that will help build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our team. Talking about moving from California to Texas, but depends, of course, where in Texas he's moving. If he's going to Austin, that's California light. you're not really changing all that much. Facebook will do away with restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch of mainstream discourse. But they've been trying. Okay, they being the layer, the people in power, all of your marketing agencies, all of your entertainment firms have tried to make those topics front and center. They just don't resonate with the people. So now, simply thanks to one election, it took a sweeping and decisive victory. It took too big to rig in order for people to finally come to their senses that this shit just doesn't wash with a vast majority of people. Listening to your coastal bubbles and all of your freaks in there gets your message to play to a smaller and smaller group the harder and harder you press on the neck of free expression. Started as a movement to be more inclusive, has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, he said, adding, it's gone too far. House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, who previously has overseen Meta probes, including Facebook's collusion with the FBI to debunk reports on Hunter Biden's laptop before the 2020 election, praised Zuckerberg on Tuesday and urged other big tech firms such as Google to follow suit. Yeah, that would be a big one. Okay, last August, Zuckerberg admitted to our committee that that Biden's White House had pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Jordan told the Post, today is a huge step in the right direction. Relations between Jordan and Zuckerberg have warmed of late. In August, Zuckerberg sent a letter to Jordan saying that the Biden administration was wrong to pressure Facebook to censor COVID-related content in 2021, including memes, satire, and jokes, and said it wouldn't comply with such efforts in the future. Meta is working to court other influential figures in Trump's inner circle. The company announced on Monday, yesterday, it was appointing 3 new members to its board of directors, including Dana White, that we went over as well. But in summation, it's a good change. But don't think that these firms, these companies, these institutions are doing this for your well-being. These are companies at the end of the day. They are still trying to appeal to the broadest base possible. They had blinders on for the past decade, thinking that appealing to special interest groups were somehow going to make them more positively associated in people's minds to a good, caring, feeling corporation. I mean, take a look at Disney, okay, with Pixar specifically. The moment that they started to shed all of that gender propaganda was the moment that they had the biggest animated film in history, and in doing the same with their streaming show, look to be positively thought about by families moving forward. It's going to be a tough hill to climb, especially with the other studios still fully entrenched in the message, but it's a change that's been a long time coming, because all of the censorship stuff, for as much as they want to paint it that it started to happen in 2020, I mean, how many falsehoods, how many hoaxes had to get debunked during the first Trump term? Okay, very fine people. They aren't sending their best. Grab them by the... All of those curated narratives were helped along by the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, by Google, by mainstream media. And they thought they could get away with it forever. And they were more than content with trying to get away for it and never having to take responsibility. That's a lot of what Mark Zuckerberg says, or doesn't say, in that 5-minute long video. He never apologizes for his role or his company's role in stifling free speech. This is just simply, oh, the incoming government is trying to appeal to the Second Amendment. We like the Second Amendment. We see that a lot of people like the incoming government. So yeah, we want to do that too. And there's other governments around the world that are trying to bully us. So if we can get in good with the current administration, yeah, they'll go ahead and afford us protections because we're an American company, right? It's just as inauthentic as every other time a company tries to pander to special interests. It's eye-rolling. It is very eye-rolling. It's a change that I like, but then at the same time, it's like, I know what I'm being marketed to, I know what I'm being advertised to, and the brand of free speech and patriotism is going to become nauseating, even more so in 2025 and in the next few years. Some of it will be authentic, but a lot of it will be as artificial as the CEO of Meta. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.